Yeah. They told me to stay in my lane. They told me, TShaw, keep that clipboard, keep supervising, keep watching the clock. But I looked at the youth, and I looked at the time, and I realized the only clock I'm watching is our time. Let's go. I'm unfadeable, you can't erase the vision. I traded the supervisor badge for the mission. From the factory.
So the narrative just kicks off with this undeniable declaration, a phrase that really demands your attention. Listen to me now, believe me later on.
It really does.
And for today's deep dive, we're going into a world that's defined by that exact intensity. It's a deeply personal, highly volatile story, and it's all delivered through spoken word and rap transcripts.
It's a pretty extraordinary set of source material, you know. What the listeners share with us isn't just music or some kind of general commentary. It's a detailed, ongoing declaration of war, really.
A declaration of war, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, a fight being waged against what he calls pervasive betrayal, and this is crucial, against what the sources repeatedly call systemic corruption in one specific place.
Dixon. It's identified over and over again.
Over and over.
And our sources for you today, they're coming primarily from the YouTube channels TShaw Unfadeable and Tyler Shaw. I mean, these transcripts are raw, they are unfiltered, and they seem to be built around these two huge pillars. On one hand, this absolute personal resilience, and on the other, these, explosive claims about a local shadow government, the so-called Dixon DarkSide.
And that's our mission today. We need to act as your guides through all this material. We've got to dissect this story and do it logically. So we're going to start by extracting that core self-definition, the speaker's assertion of being, built for this.
Okay.
Then we'll dive into the specifics of this micro-level war, the Dixon snitching, the digital surveillance, and then finally we have to map out the bigger picture, the macro level structure of the systemic rot that's implied by all these Dixon DarkSide allegations.
Right, across the city government, law enforcement, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
That is a huge mission, but I think it promises some really striking insights for you. Okay, let's unpack this. So we're starting at the foundation, the identity that makes this whole confrontation possible, the persona of resilience.
You know, when you first start reading through these transcripts, the sheer force of the speaker's self-definition is, it's overwhelming.
It really is.
The identity of TShaw, or Coach Shaw, it's all rooted in this concept of being unfadeable. He says he has an unbreakable core. And this is so much more than just confidence. It's like an armored persona. And it feels like it's been crafted specifically for the volatile world he's describing.
Yeah, it sort of functions as both a declaration and a justification for everything that comes after, doesn't it?
Exactly.
That repeated phrase, I was built for this, it implies that this conflict, this battle against betrayal and corruption, it wasn't a surprise. He frames it as the ultimate test that his entire life has been preparing him for.
And the sources are very, very deliberate about establishing this narrative of transformation, of being shaped by adversity. It's an essential origin story. He creates this really sharp contrast between himself and his opponents. He claims he was forged in a storm while others stayed in the safe. And that right there, it immediately positions him as having this authenticity that was earned through struggle.
And it's cemented by those references to his past, to a confinement. He says, took my life, so I did my bid, came home sharper than I ever been, kid.
And that past struggle is so critical to his whole identity. It serves as proof in his eyes that he has already survived the worst.
Yeah.
So this current fight, as intense as it is just a continuation of this lifelong process of, testing and hardening. It kind of legitimizes his whole aggressive stance. Absolutely. He uses the consequence of pain as proof of his character. He says, I'm the proof that the pain make a man to steal. It's a really powerful rhetorical move.
Well, it reframes everything, doesn't it? Every scar on my body, every cut that can heal, it's not a weakness anymore.
No, it's a piece of armor. It shifts the whole perception of vulnerability into one of strength. And he underlines all this by stressing that he did his time, he completed it without ever breaking, did my time, never quit.
So he's establishing this expectation of a continuous commitment to whatever this mission is.
That's it.
But, you have to wonder, wouldn't this aggressive, self-contained kind of solo stance, this unbreakable core, wouldn't that risk alienating the very community he says he's trying to protect? Because the sources really do emphasize him operating alone, this solo survival.
That's a really sharp question. And the transcripts, they do acknowledge the high cost of taking that stance. But operating alone is presented as a forced necessity.
Necessity?
Yeah, in an environment that he describes as fatally compromised. He says it so clearly, all by myself, I was built for this, and even solo in the ring, I'm still survive.
I mean, in a world where he alleges trust is completely non-existent, solitude becomes the ultimate defense mechanism.
So it's about not being compromised or betrayed.
It's the only way.
That makes a lot of sense. If the entire social ecosystem is, tainted, then keeping your distance is the only way to stay unfadable.
Right.
But this isolation doesn't mean the fight is just internal or selfish. And this is where the narrative shifts, right? It connects his personal strength to a bigger public mission. Correct. He channels all that resilience outward. He argues his fight is for the unheard, the victims of y'all drama. And he specifically names the ones with no voice, the ones in the trauma. He's trying to validate his own personal conflict by making it bigger, by advocating for the whole community.
And he sees his creative output, and the very transcripts we're reading, as a form of evidence in this public case he's building. Every rhyme he drops is called a written word. And he makes this deliberate point. This is bigger than rap. This is life in the flesh. It's like a testimonial. It's active documentation.
He's leveraging the medium itself. It's not just for performance. It's for record keeping, for exposure. And this commitment, it leads to this grand, almost prophetic claim he makes about his long-term vision.
Yeah, that was incredible.
He directly challenges all his detractors, declaring, you can't fake this grind. You can't cheat this test. And then he makes the ultimate bet on his own legacy, saying he will be the one to quote 25 years from here.
That is just such a bold statement. I mean, you're in the face of this intense, very localized opposition, and he's aiming for, historical vindication.
That's what it is. It speaks to an absolute conviction that his fight against this dark side is righteous, and that it will eventually be recognized as such long after his immediate opponents are gone.
And this confidence, I guess it's essential because the threats he describes are constant.
He has to have it. He acknowledges all the attempts to stop him, to silence him, but he concludes this whole section with this powerful assertion that, you can lock the body, but the mind going to soar.
The spirit can't be contained.
Cannot be contained. The unfadable soul is defined by this unstoppable mental drive, even if the body is attacked or constrained. That's the code.
So, okay, we've established the code of this unfadable soul. Now we have to dive into the environment that created it, and that environment is toxic. It's just saturated with paranoia and this constant high-stakes threat. So let's move to section 2. We have to analyze this dark side diction of betrayal and surveillance.
Well, if the self-definition in section 1 is the armor, then the pervasive presence of snakes in the grass is the threat that requires that constant vigilance. The transcripts are just soaked in warnings about trust. The speaker is basically operating under the assumption that everyone is a potential enemy.
He says, streets still whisper, snakes in the grass, I don't ever miss them.
Right there.
And the sources, they give you this feeling of total, inescapable distrust. What really drove that home for me was the analogy he uses.
Oh, yeah.
Salt and sugar look the same. I mean, that's just a perfect metaphor for deception, right? It indicates that the betrayal isn't coming from your clear enemies. It's from those people who are indistinguishable from your friends.
People you invite into your life.
Yeah.
The sources speak so deeply about personal betrayal. I treated you like a brother, but you betrayed me like the others.
Wow.
And he really crystallizes this definition of fake loyalty. He describes it as those who are smiling in my face and eating off my plate when you already ate.
So it's not just about, resource scarcity.
No. It's about a calculated deception, where people are feigning loyalty or need while actively working against your interests. And all this duplicity, it forces him to the conclusion that loyalty is dead, but I keep it alive.
Which confirms why that solo survival stance is so crucial for him.
Exactly.
And this pervasive sense of personal betrayal, it seems to quickly transition into something much more structured and frankly more dangerous, what he calls the phenomenon of Dixon snitching.
This is a really crucial pivot, because it suggests that individual deceit is being actively weaponized by the system.
How so?
Well, the speaker makes direct and very specific claims that informants are everywhere. He even alleges what he calls a family tree of criminal informants.
A family tree?
Yeah, which suggests that informing isn't just an occasional thing, it's a widespread, maybe even inherited social structure.
And the sources are incredibly granular. They're not afraid to name names. They mention Vern, Justin, and Bidai as active problems, as informants.
They do.
But the accusation gets even more socially disruptive when he directs it at mothers on 2nd Street calling Dixon PD. It makes it sound like informing has become a social norm, penetrating every single level of community life.
It creates a kind of morally inverted ecosystem. The speaker observes that these Dixon snitches will be cool with the same dude that fucking hung you.
Wow. Man.
I mean, that indicates a complete erosion of any kind of communal ethical standards, where self-preservation through collaborating with authorities trumps any concept of loyalty or justice for your own community.
And this blurred line between friend and foe, it's constantly being challenged. The source explicitly mentions the need to differentiate that real from that fucking fake.
It suggests the truth is being deliberately muddied by those collaborating with the system. It makes genuine connection almost impossible. This is the environment that the unfadeable persona has to survive in.
And that need for hypervigilance, it extends directly into the digital realm, which brings us to this astonishing claim of 6 months of hacking and direct confrontation.
Yeah, this wasn't just a brief incident. The sources are describing a sustained, concerted digital campaign against him.
6 months straight. A sustained campaign suggests really motivated antagonists, people with access to specific tools. The methods he describes include hacking his phone and name, using fake DMs, little mind games, just throwing out shade.
Wow.
For you, the listener, what should we be thinking here? What kind of attacks is he actually alleging?
Well, given that description, we're likely looking at some sophisticated stuff. Probably account takeovers, maybe phishing campaigns designed to steal his login credentials, or even the deployment of spyware or malware on his mobile devices.
And when he says hacking the phone and name, what does that mean?
He's describing a loss of identity control. The fake DMs are likely attempts to discredit him or, sow confusion among his contacts. It's a full-spectrum digital assault.
And the seriousness of the attack is pretty clear from the fact that he went and sought external corporate help. He lists specific consultations with Verizon, the Apple Store, T-Mobile. I mean, these are not the kinds of places you go for casual trolling.
No, you go there for high-level security breaches. And critically, the activity was so suspicious that external entities were triggered. He mentions Google, hitting me, your account's been touched.
So Google's own security systems flagged it.
Right. It suggests that Google's automated protocols detected unusual login activity or remote access that was consistent with a major security breach. He even specifically names a source of deceit, mentioning a fake message from a John Train clown.
So he was actively investigating this himself.
Yes. This focus on detail suggests he was tracking his attackers during that entire 6-month period.
It just sounds like a digital war of attrition. But then the transcripts reveal that when the digital war failed to silence him, the confrontation escalated.
It did, to physical danger. The shift in the narrative from, cybersecurity to a violent street encounter is jarring. It's sudden.
And it highlights, I guess, the extreme desperation of his antagonists, allegedly organized around these two figures, Vern and Justin.
The source material details an attempted setup where the speaker says he knocks on a door and immediately sees Vern with a pistol trying to play pretend. The danger is immediate.
And he says it wasn't a fair fight. The source claims Justin creeps up from behind, starts swinging, causing the speaker to hit the floor, got tangled in the grind. I mean, that sounds like an ambush, not a brawl.
It does. And the volatility is just extreme because a third party immediately gets involved. Justin's girl grabbed a hammer, threatening to blow. This indicates multiple people were actively participating in this attempted assault.
Which demonstrates a level of coordination that kind of aligns with his earlier claims about an organized network.
It does. The outcome was
Severe
undeniably
allegation.
violent.
He's
The
saying
speaker
police
claims he was
department
hit in the
is giving
head, that
operational
blood ran
deference
down.
to the guy who allegedly
Yet
just
he immediately
attacked him
pivots
with a
to
pistol
highlight
and
his
hammer.
own
It's a shocking
unfadeable
claim.
resolve.
He
The
stayed
implication is
locked
that the
in.
law
He
isn't
refused
acting
to
as an
retreat.
impartial
Exactly.
mediator at all. He
But as
sees
a
this physical
co-conspirator,
survival as
or at least
more
a
proof of
protector
his
of the
code.
attackers.
The
But
speaker
the
says he
truly
told
damning
Grady
part,
straight,
I think,
I
for
want
you,
my
the listener,
peace.
comes in the aftermath.
But if the police are
The
already taking
intervention of
instruction
law
from the
enforcement.
attackers,
The speaker
peace is
recounts
impossible.
that
Right,
the cops
and that
pull up,
alleged
tell me
institutional
keep it cool.
bias is the
Meanwhile,
perfect
Vern
segue
telling them
to
his
the
own
Depper
rules.
systemic
This
claims
is a
of the
direct
Dixon DarkSide.
Mm-hmm.
So we're transitioning now from this micro-level war of betrayal to the macro-level war against the alleged structure of corruption itself. The sheer volume and the specificity of these claims involving high-level officials, law enforcement, the judicial system, it really suggests the speaker sees Dixon as a completely compromised environment.
This section really reveals the full scope of what he called the Dixon DarkSide. And we start right at the top with financial and political misconduct. The sources allege that corruption isn't just accepted, but it's actively covered up by the city leaders.
And the specific claims against the city's leadership are, they're explosive. The sources allege a major cover-up involving a police chief knocking up a girl underage, forcing the family to move to flip the page.
And despite this alleged crime and this alleged cover-up, the chief kept his pension, stayed in the game.
That's a claim of total institutional protection and no accountability.
Precisely. The fact that the chief allegedly retained his pension, his lifetime financial security, it suggests a powerful, established system that prioritizes protecting its own over any kind of justice for the victim.
And he notes that the city manager, same old name, which implies this institutional continuity no matter how severe the misconduct is.
When the figures at the top are allegedly immune, the entire system below them is compromised.
And to lend weight to these accusations, which, would otherwise be difficult to verify, the narrative anchors itself in a highly specific, high-profile, and documented case of corruption, one that's known nationally.
The Rita Crunwell case.
The Rita Crunwell case.
This is a very smart rhetorical move in the transcripts. The speaker is basically saying, look, the Rita Crunwell case is factually true. She was exposed for stealing $53 million from the city to buy horses. That proves large-scale corruption is endemic here. Now believe my other claims.
And he details how Crunwell was out here reaping the gold, bought racehorses with stolen city funds.
But the sources go beyond just reporting the known facts of the theft. They inject a new allegation about the legal manipulation that allegedly happened afterward.
Right. He says property was supposedly flipped in her family's tag so the town can't take a single bag.
And this is a critical allegation about legal maneuverings after the crime was exposed. If that's true, it implies that the DarkSide's power extends into the very mechanisms that are designed to seek restitution.
So even after she was caught, the system protects the assets.
It suggests the system prevents the town from recovering the money, a failure of financial and legal accountability that harms the entire city.
The claims then broaden out to socioeconomic issues, specifically these housing and development claims. He's suggesting that the alleged corruption isn't just about money at the top. It's about controlling demographics and access for the community below.
He first establishes a verifiable scarcity. He says, ain't nowhere to rent in Dixon. That's facts. But he immediately links this scarcity to an alleged racial bias.
He claims they are pushing all the color to Sterling's tracks and making people pay if their skin got shade. That's an allegation of systematic segregation and manipulation of real estate.
It is. And this is where that public mission persona surfaces again. He injects this rare moment of community appreciation. He gives a shout out to Lucky on Third Man, you broke that wall. Proud of you standing 10 feet tall.
So he's suggesting that this wall of systemic bias can occasionally be broken, but it takes a monumental effort.
But the dark side allegedly ensures the struggle remains intense for the vulnerable. The transcripts mention poor Bob from Brandywine, who was allegedly shut him out and let drown in debt while the suits walked about.
That paints a really vivid picture. The established elite, the suits, actively leveraging the system to target and exploit financially fragile citizens. This alleged targeting of the vulnerable is terrifying, but the most alarming claims really target the heart of law enforcement. I think we need to dedicate some serious time to these law enforcement and judicial system claims, which the sources imply is the real engine of the dark side.
The overarching systemic accusation is blunt. There's no room for nuance. He just says, police themselves, we do no wrong.
A self-regulated immune structure.
Completely. But the claims go so much deeper, describing specific methods of control within the judicial system itself, specifically the drug court.
Let's pause on this drug court accusation, because it's arguably the darkest systemic claim in the entire transcript. He's not alleging like an accidental failure. He's describing a mechanism where rehabilitation is leveraged for forced collaboration. The claim is that cops snatch drug court kids, make them sing that song. What's the implied structure there, and what's the motive?
Well, the sources suggest that the system uses the immense pressure of the drug court. The threat of incarceration is hanging over the participant to force them into becoming informants.
Okay.
The motive is twofold. First, to embed surveillance deep within the community, and second, control. But the other, and far more chilling implication, is the lethal coercion that's inherent in the threat of becoming.
Fish food in the deep.
Fish food in the deep. It is the code in the circle they keep.
That phrasing is profoundly disturbing. It implies that refusing to cooperate, refusing to sing that song, it leads to fatal outcomes, or just disappearing into the system.
And that level of alleged threat is what maintains this circle of silence he talks about. And that cycle, it becomes utterly corrosive to community trust. If the judicial system is seen as a source of informants and existential threat rather than help.
Trust breaks down completely, which validates his wariness.
And this structural critique is bolstered by claims of hypocrisy within law enforcement itself. The source states, cops are allegedly busting deals at night, but the next week are OD in the broad daylight.
That's not just a claim of a few bad apples, that's an allegation of endemic rot.
If the very figures enforcing drug laws are addicted or involved in the trade, their authority is zero, and their ability to police themselves is obviously non-existent.
And he backs up these claims of internal immunity with incredibly specific examples. We hear about Ken Nelson's speed and no ticket, no care, and then, suspiciously, new squad cars appear out of thin air.
The implication is clear. Unchecked privilege for one person, no ticket, might be linked to misuse of public funds, the new cars.
And the allegations of protecting the inner circle are just as specific. There's the claim about protecting the family. A cousin of a cop beat a girl near dead, but 11 days later was still walking instead.
That's a direct, detailed accusation of privileged justice. It's based on connections within the police department. The system shields its own no matter how severe the crime.
And this systematic protection allegedly extends to the evidence itself. The source claims police scan a lock so the truth don't spread.
Which points toward the potential manipulation or suppression of digital or physical evidence to ensure the desired outcome. It reinforces the idea that the dark side controls the flow of information.
So the summation of all these specific claims, the financial misconduct, or the housing bias, police immunity, it's chilling. It's all a game, justice ain't the aim, dark side running the whole town's name.
The sources are asserting that the system isn't dysfunctional. It is allegedly engineered to perpetuate this self-serving power structure.
And this structure isn't just institutional. It extends into a secretive social network, the shadow players and secret life. The speaker recounts being warned by a chief, "D-say, take T-shot no matter what's said."
And the message is crystal clear. The official power structure has decided the narrative, and the truth teller will always be suppressed, regardless of the facts.
The sources then list a significant number of individuals allegedly involved in this DarkSide Dixon network. It suggests a deep, interconnected web of complicity. He names Eric, Mackenzie, Julie Castle, Bobby Young, Brian Kelly, Rocky Clough, Aaron Shaw, Aaron Herrick, and Byer.
The very act of naming them suggests the speaker believes this conspiracy is not abstract. It's composed of actual, identifiable players who are linked by secrets, suspicion, and tricks. It shifts the whole narrative from generalized paranoia to a focused accusation against an alleged cabal running the town.
And this network allegedly transcends simple town government and local crime. It includes high-level connections. The transcripts claim the cop bar is packed with the CEO crowd high as the sky.
That phrase suggests a systemic partnership, a partnership between powerful business interests, the corporate elite, and law enforcement.
If that's true, this collaboration would secure the status quo for the elite. It would ensure the suits stay protected while the vulnerable, like poor Bob, are targeted.
The depth of that alleged connection implies that the speaker isn't just fighting local informants anymore. He's fighting an entire establishment.
And that intensity leads us directly to the boldest promise of the entire narrative, the claim of future exposure. After detailing years of this localized corruption, the speaker throws down a massive gauntlet. It's just the tip of the iceberg. There's some P. Diddy, Jeff Epstein type stuff coming down.
And that comparison, P. Diddy and Jeff Epstein, that is so critical for understanding his rhetorical strategy. He's deliberately invoking the names of internationally recognized figures.
Figures associated with extreme wealth, immense power, and hidden dark criminal enterprises.
Exactly. He is attempting to magnify the stakes of the Dixon narrative infinitely. He's suggesting that this small town's issues are just a microcosm of a much broader global pattern of corruption and hidden evil. It sort of validates the immense pressure he says he's under.
Right. It transitions the fight from a local grievance to a universal crusade against powerful darkness.
Given the intense gravity of the alleged conspiracy and the depth of the betrayal we've outlined, we really have to analyze the massive price of truth the speaker claims he's enduring. This is clearly a physically and emotionally costly fight.
The narrative makes the physical threat visceral. The speaker explicitly mentions the desire of his enemies to see his name on a headstone, and crucially, he references having undergone life-saving surgery.
Wow.
Which makes the physical toll of this conflict far more than metaphorical. The stakes are literally life or death.
And the mental strain is equally profound. He speaks so candidly about his mental state, admitting to lying awake, rock for nights thinking I might be dead.
That relentless threat environment, it creates a deep internal conflict. He expresses it perfectly. I might have bit the truth, but I never lie. I need something to feel alive when I'm dead inside.
So he's pursuing truth as this desperate need for internal life, even when that pursuit is draining his external mental equilibrium.
And yet, despite being surrounded by all this chaos, the sources reveal he maintains this stringent code of conduct. This is the discipline required to survive the dark side.
He talks about being private, learning to listen, separating himself from the fake.
He asserts, I ain't the type go up and brag, but I got what it takes. This discipline is essential for his survival, staying focused while the enemy is trying to create chaos and compromise.
And this self-imposed discipline feeds directly into what he calls his unbreakable focus. The core message remains centered on the inevitable exposure of the dark side, regardless of all the attempts to stop him. He's determined because he believes his opponents are operating on a temporary, fragile platform.
That determination is summarized in that powerful idea that you can lock the body with the mind going to soar. His truth, his narrative, it can't be confined by physical attacks or imprisonment. Right. He acknowledges how difficult this fight is, stating that life is a crazy game played by fools, and he adheres to the rules to the game, which dictates that sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But for the unfadeable persona, just continuing the fight itself is the true victory.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the resilience that built for this mantra that we detailed in section 1, it's not a boast.
No.
It's a necessary response, a response to the systemic, pervasive corruption and the deep personal betrayal that we detailed in sections 2 and 3. His individual commitment to stand for the truth is the only alleged force capable of challenging this established, closed, corrupt circle known as the Dixon DarkSide. His determination is the counterforce.
This has been an incredibly intense deep dive. We've explored the raw, complex narrative of Tyler Shaw. We navigated the establishment of his unfadeable persona, forged in adversity. We went through the chilling specifics of the digital and physical betrayal involving figures like Vern and Justin, and we covered the wide-ranging systemic accusations of corruption targeting police, city officials, and the judicial systems in Dixon. I mean, the transcripts offer a compelling, though very disturbing account of one person's fight against a deeply entrenched power structure.
Before we leave you to process the sheer weight of these claims, it's really essential to return to that striking duality we found in the source material.
Okay.
Amidst all the confrontation, the chaos, the claims of violence and corruption, the speaker interjects a quote he attributes to Muhammad Ali.
Oh, right, the recipe.
The recipe for a good life. It involves taking a few cups of love, 1 tablespoon of patience, 1 pint of kindness, and then spreading it over a lifetime.
That is truly remarkable, especially when it comes immediately after the promise of Jeff Epstein-level dark revelations. It forces a real cognitive dissonance on you, the listener.
It absolutely does. This complex narrative uses the language of war and confrontation, yet it concludes with an expression of hope and a selfless legacy. The question isn't whether the fight is necessary, but how one conducts the fight.
This raises a really important question for you to consider. Given the pervasive betrayal and the alleged lethal threats that constitute the Dixon DarkSide, how does one maintain that unfadeable soul and also adhere to that commitment to kindness and patience, the Muhammad Ali code? Where exactly does the line blur between the necessity of fighting fire with fire and that higher aspiration of spreading that tablespoon of patience? Something to mull over as you process the depth and volatility of this story and the price of seeking truth in a corrupted world. Thank you for sharing these sources with us.
I see the truth clearer than windows that never fall. They try to throw shade, I'm solar powered through the small. Eyes peeled, what's concealed, don't ever stay silent. Fake love loud, it's the humble ones stay quiet. Money talking different tongues, I learn to dialect. Fake friends act rich in spirit, but never cut a check. Been broke, been woke, seen both sides collide. Now I spotted Judas saying when it's reaching for a high five. Realize, that's vision. That third eye open, that's divine intuition. See through the cap like a lid on fiction. Truth cut deep, that's a soul inside. Realize, that's vision. That third eye open, that's divine intuition. See through the cap like a lid on fiction. Truth cut deep, that's a soul inside. I don't trust mirrors, they reflect what's it's rehearsed. World so fake, even love come with terms. Snake in the grass, got designer skills. Camouflage couture, that's betrayal in reserve, damn reacher. They smile like deals, but they sound like scams. Talk truth in captions just to chase more fans. I play chess, they play checkers on Instagram. King me, I'm 2 steps past where they stand. Realize, 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 that's vision. That third eye open, that's divine intuition. See through the cap like a lid on fiction. Truth cut deep, that's a soul in. Realize, 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 that's vision. That third eye open, that's divine intuition. See through the cap like a lid on fiction. Truth cut deep, that's a soul incision. Every bar like Bible verses, read between the rhyme. Every scar signature from lessons over time. I don't need your validation, I got mine in the grind. When you real from the start, fake falls and decline. Realize, 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 that's vision. That third eye open, that's divine intuition. See through the cap like a lid on fiction. Truth cut deep, that's a soul in. Realize, realize.